So I had a chance to talk to Mike, Detective Carroll. We really had good conversation about the class and his observations, and so I wanted you to see our back and forth and what the discussion was like. I hope you enjoy it. So we're just going to talk natural. What did you think when you look at DBU and the students when I first started teaching versus what you're seeing now in the classes? Are you excited by it?
I'm extremely excited by it. I tell you what, I tell those young folks all the time, I'm impressed with it seems like they're sincerely interested in what's going on in the legal system. Yeah. Sincerely interested in how the process works.
Yeah.
The courts, the legal system, police departments.
Yeah.
They're engaged.
Yeah.
I know when you first started, they seemed so disengaged.
Yes.
But now, everybody in that class, every time I've spoken to your classes, they all seem so engaged.
Yeah.
And I think given more time, they would probably ask more questions.
Yeah.
But you don't have a lot of time. But I'm impressed with how engaged they are in the process.
And then when you look at the composition, females, we do need more females in police. We say that all the time.
We do in law enforcement. We do need that perspective. That's true.
Yeah.
So I'm also surprised, but this has been going on for many years. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's just college period, but there's so many women in these classes. And I'm not sure if that's just indicative of the fact there's so many women in college period, or just they're interested in this particular topic. I don't know. But there are a lot of women in your classes, which is good.
Yeah, and you know, let's think about this too. Everybody seems to think that you have to major in criminology or criminal justice, but that's not, even when I got in recruiting, when you did your audit study, we don't have to have that. I mean, your background, think about it, archaeology, and your homicide, I mean, but you applied that when you got into that field.
True, and I think, like I tell them, and anybody who wants to go in law enforcement, to me is educate yourself on something that you could utilize somewhere maybe outside of law enforcement.
Yeah.
Because technically, you're going to learn everything you need to know about being a police officer once you're in the academy, right?
Yeah.
So now, if that's your passion, like we've seen a few students, their passion is, all I want to be is an officer.
Exactly.
All I want to be is a detective. All I want to be is police work. If that's what you want to do, that's great. Then do that. Major in that. Get a degree in it. That's fine. Mm-hmm. But I would encourage them, particularly in this field, to learn something about psychology or technology.
Yes.
Because number one, psychology is we're dealing with what's the landscape look like in terms of the criminals. They're going to be smarter, more intelligent, and we have to understand how do they think. So take psychology classes, take sociology classes, but also learn technology, because that's going to be something we're really going to be dealing with in terms of law enforcement in a major way.
I think you're right.
In years to come.
Yeah.
It's on us right now, as you know. It's on us right now.
Yeah. Well, anything else before I close it out? I just wanted to...
You know, I tell you what, I have talked about this, and what I find very interesting with these young people today is I've been involved in this either working in law enforcement or instructor or teaching law enforcement for like over 40 years now.
Yeah.
But twice in the last 6 or 7 months, I've had 2 students ask me, of all the stuff that you and I see and witness about how ugly this career and this life could be, and it's not pretty sometimes.
Yeah.
But no one has ever asked me up until the last 6 or so months, how are you doing mentally? How is your mental health? No one's ever asked that until this last training class I had. A 20-year-old asked me, and then in your class,
Mr. Toms,
asked me.
I hope I pronounced it right, but we'll give him a shout out anyway.
Yeah. How is your mental health?
Yeah.
And I find that fascinating that people, not that I've taught who are 30 and 40.
Yeah.
These are 2 young folks who are 20 years old that consider now, with all that's going on in our society and the country and the world, how is your mental health? When it comes to the stress of this job, how are you holding up?
Yeah.
I'm impressed by that. I'm impressed by the maturity in these 20-year-olds.
I think you're right. And then when you look at all of the tools that they have now, I mean, I tell the joke all the time, and I know you came out before I did. We came out of the academy and we had a map scope.
Yeah.
A lot of these cadets don't even know, and students don't even know what a map scope is because they're so used to the digital interface, the digital stuff. I don't know what would happen if they didn't have it, if it went down. But they've got all the tools, and those tools are getting better and better.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's so true. Yeah, but I'm impressed with them. I'm impressed with the maturity of these young folks.
Yeah.
I'm extremely impressed with their maturity, and I'm extremely impressed with their interest in what's going on in the legal system. Either they want to be attorneys, social workers, or law enforcement.
Exactly.
I'm extremely impressed with how engaged they are.
Yeah.
And so I think most people would think, well, these young people don't care. They clearly do care.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's obvious that's why I said today, talking to this group today, it'd be nice to reverse it and have the instructors and professors sitting in the class and have these young folks talk to them for a minute to see what's on their mind. What are you thinking? Because when you look at these breaks and ask the questions they ask, how they're involved, they're clearly much more mature and more engaged with this stuff than we give them credit for.
I agree 100%.
We think they're just running around on their phones and doing simple things and they don't care about nothing but technology. But when two 20-year-olds ask you, how are you doing mentally, physically, that's impressive.
Yeah.
That's very impressive. They're engaged. They're aware.
Yeah.
So I'm impressed with them. Like I tell them all the time, I can't wait to see what they do in law enforcement. Either as attorneys, as officers, I can't wait to see how this is going to look in 15 years.
And I think that landscape is going to be improved remarkably, at least I would hope so.
I agree, and I think when you listen to them speak, they're already talking about things that experts have been talking about for the last 10 or 15 years, and that as law enforcement officers, we are a whole lot of educators.
Yeah.
We educate. We're social workers. We're educators. That's kind of what we are. Do we enforce the law? Yes. But I notice a lot more of them wanting to do it with compassion. Right?
Yes, yes.
So I think with that in mind, I wonder if and there's this big conversation and debate about whether you change how we do police work and make it less military and more classroom type educational, or somewhere in the middle, or keep it the way it is, the military balance part of it. But I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to that. But I think these are going to be questions and challenges that these young folks are going to have to face, and I'm excited about how they're going to do it.
Well, when you say compassion, though, that's always been a problem because, it hadn't been a problem. You and I have talked about this a whole lot. You get, let's say, the knuckleheaded perspective where people think, I have to be the tough cop, versus someone who has to show some empathy. Yeah. And then that question bridges on, are we cops or social workers or a mixture of both? For me, and I think for you, we're a mixture of all of it.
Yeah.
And somebody to take that perspective that, no, I can't be emotional, I can't be empathetic, I can't show compassion, you shouldn't be in that field.
I agree. And this is something that you and I, when we started years ago, think about how the tools were basic, the education was basic, what we did was kind of basic. Now you have units specifically dealing with the mental health of people that we deal with on a regular basis that have these crises going on in their life.
Yeah.
And we're being trained now in the academies to deal with it. Yeah. We have units specifically designed to deal with those type of folks going through those type of crises where we didn't do that when we were officers. We took them, put them in the hospital, put them in jail, and moved on.
Yeah.
That's how we dealt with them. Yeah. Now you have units that come out and deal with those issues. And it's important because all of us have issues in our lives. And at some point, as officers, we're going to deal with them.
I think you're
right. How do
we
deal with them that's best for us as a society and community? And I think they're going to have to answer those questions. I think they're kind of dealing with it now, and I think they're doing a decent job. But how's that going to look in another 10 or 15 years?
Well, we got better people coming out.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So with those type of individuals, those folks are going to promote to be chiefs and captains
Yeah.
and supervisors in the department. What's their mindset going to be? How we're going to deal with these?
True.
So departments are changing.
Yeah.
The makeup of the officers and with the badge is changing.
Yes.
So we'll see what happens in 10 or 15 years. I'm excited to see what they're going to do with this.
Good, good. So you did, the first presentation you did was on homicide, disorganized killers versus organized killers. And then today you did it on the Wedgewood shooting, which I think they found very interesting. Hopefully we'll have you come in to talk about strangulation with regard to relationships. And I'm looking forward to that. So.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. And you know, one would think if you talk to a seasoned officer and you said, hey, I'm going to go speak to some high school kids or college kids, the response would be, are they interested in this?
Yes.
As you know, all the classes I've done for you,
Yes.
they all seem to be engaged and interested
Absolutely.
in this.
Yeah.
So clearly they are.
Yes.
They're clearly interested in this. I think that misnomer that, well, they're not interested, they want to play this and they're doing that, they're not interested. They are clearly interested.
Yeah. And that's good for us.
It is. It's really good for us, not just those who work in law enforcement, but us as a community.
Yeah.
I'd rather have those folks patrolling my neighborhoods.
Yes.
So
That's a great point. Then rather than some automaton, some robot who really doesn't even care to be there.
right.
Yeah.
So someone who can stop like they used to do and talk with the kids, have conversations, play basketball with them, do something with them. As an NPO, you know that. These are things that you did to engage, to close that bridge, to create that bridge between community. And that's helped Fort Worth a lot in reducing crime.
Yes.
So imagine if every officer, so when I first started, you'd say, hey, there's a Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so want to have an officer come out to a meeting at their house tonight at 7 o'clock or tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Anybody want to volunteer to go? Crickets. Nobody wanted to go do that.
Exactly, yeah.
Nobody. So they start forcing the officer, it's on your beat, you have to go.
Yeah.
And no matter whether you wanted to do it or not, they sent you. And you may have been mad or upset. You didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
But you went. Or you found an excuse not to go.
Yeah.
I got a call and something happened where you couldn't go. It seems like these young folks now want to engage the community.
True. True.
They want to do that.
Yeah.
And that's what's exciting me because, you know, we keep seeing these images of officers arresting people, getting in fights with people.
Yeah.
Sometimes use of force issues. And you never really have a lot of opportunity to sit down with officers and say, what's going on in your head? What's going on here?
Yeah.
Why do we do this? I think these young folks are going to want to engage with the community to educate them. I think they're not going to run from the fact that we either do some kind of videos or TikToks or YouTube or something, or simply go to meetings and say, let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
They're not going to run from it. I think they're going to embrace it.
Which is good.
Which is very good because the more we do, once you know, as an NPO, that was your job.
Yeah.
And we know the results were there's a reduction in crime.
Yeah.
When you have that healthy relationship between community and us. And I know as a homicide detective, that community engagement solved 2 capital murders for me and my partner.
Yeah.
So that stuff helps. It really does. And I think these young folks are not going to run from that. And that's going to make a big difference in patrol officers in the future. I can't wait to see what they do with it.
Good. Well, we're looking forward to having you in the future.
I'm looking forward to being there.
All right. And what is it I like to say? Oh, yeah, that's right. I'll see you in class.